All right, so if you guys remember, at the first Continental Congress, the colonists had first gotten together because they were starting to get a little bit frustrated. They're like, okay, what do we do about England? Well, they decided they weren't going to try to break away, but instead they were going to try to negotiate, and as well as they were going to boycott some English goods. And another thing they did is they said, Boston, if you want to, you can start, getting together a little militia, get a small army just in case, but don't be doing anything crazy, okay? So the year was 1775. So again, before 1776, before the Declaration of Independence, they started stockpiling weapons at a little town in Concord, just outside of Boston. Now, the soldiers were hanging out in Boston, and some of the Sons of Liberty were there as well, and they were on strict orders, like, okay, keep an eye on these soldiers, and if they start making a move on our weapons out in Concord, we gotta let them know as soon as possible. So one of the dudes was Paul Revere, and we've talked about him before, I think, I'm sure. And if you can see right here, we see a statue of Paul Revere on his horse, and in the background we see a church. Now, what they had decided was they were going to create a signal in this church. This is the Old North Church up there that you see, and they were gonna have 2 lanterns if they were moving by sea, and 1 if by land. So 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. Meaning, if the British soldiers started moving out towards Concord, how were they gonna get there? If Paul Revere were to look up in that church and see 2 lanterns hanging, he knew they'd be coming by sea, and if he saw 1, he knew they'd be coming by land. And so, basically one night, the lanterns went up, and Paul Revere hopped on his horse, actually borrowed a horse from a friend, and started hightailing it out to Concord. Now, on his way there, another dude named William Dawes started going too, because he saw the signal as well, and they all started heading out, and they started warning everybody, all right, the Redcoats are coming, the British Army is coming. All right, so what they basically did is they make it out to Lexington. And out there in Lexington, there's John Hancock and Sam Adams and some other these Sons of Liberty as well, all hanging out, making their plans and stuff. And they get out there, and so Paul Revere gets out there, and is like, hey, the Redcoats are coming. So then they decide they're gonna send William and Paul Revere on their way out to Concord to warn the people in Concord to hide the weapons. And at the same time, they were calling a militia forward to protect them in Lexington. And so Paul Revere starts hightailing it all the way out to Concord. On his way, though, he gets busted by some British soldiers. Now, William Dawes makes it out to Concord and warns the troops in time. But Paul Revere's ride ended there. But he's still the one who's most famous for that ride today, as you can see from this monument standing here in the middle of Boston.